All right, I want to talk about a principle called falling on the sword and why I coach salespeople that they should take the blame whenever possible. Now, let me just give you a couple stories and then really put this into the broader perspective for you. So, one time I'm with a sales manager, I'm in training in a new company, and we're selling a service to businesses. And when we got into the meeting with the buyer, my sales manager asked who is their current supplier for this service. And after she had mentioned that, his immediate response was, "Oh, they're terrible." And he went on a rant for about 30 seconds about why they're so bad, why they're so misrun, and why they're terrible in their organization, and all these things. It came from his gut right away without thinking, and the response, you could see the facial tension on the buyer that we were meeting with, and her response was, "I'd rather you talk about your company and your accolades and your service specifically than have you put down your competition." Now, if you think about it, the reason for this is you're now, when you're bad mouthing the vendor of their choice or the supplier of their choice to the customer, you're insulting their decision. At some point, they made a decision to go with that customer, right? Or with that vendor or supplier. And they made that decision, and now here you are bashing them for that decision. So I'm always teaching salespeople, when they say, "Oh, we're doing business with XYZ company," you can say, "Oh, good people. Yeah, I know some of them, or I've heard about them, and they're probably taking real good care of you." This leads to a different response because people tend to mismatch salespeople, and then they go, "Well, I wouldn't say real good care, but they're doing okay." "Oh, okay. I'm surprised you said that. What kind of problems have you had in the past?" But forget that for another video topic. So the buyer in this story that I'm telling you with my sales manager excused herself for a minute because she got called out of the conference room. And my sales manager recognized right away what he did. He knew he had done something wrong and insulted the buyer. He knew I'm very well trained as a sales professional before I came to the company. And so he says to go ahead and try to save this, and he's going to excuse himself when she comes back. I knew exactly what to do. So as soon as she came back into the room, he asked if there was a restroom that he could use, and she told him where it was down the hall. And as soon as he walked out, I had to say, "Barb, I just got to say, I'm really not happy with the way that went. And see, you show struggle here, and people will sympathize with you, right? People love to rescue. You don't always need to be the perfect polished salesperson and be not genuine and so forth." So, and I was struggling too, so I was being honest. And I said, "I got to tell you, Mike, let's just call him Mike, is really good at what he does. He's a technical genius, actually, and but he's passionate about his customers, and because he is on the front lines and hears a lot of the complaints from our customers, from other people that they've done business with and tried before, he takes that really personal." And so then it just blurted out in this meeting and stuff like that. I know that not every customer of XYZ company experiences these problems, and it sounds like you're not either. So that's great. And so she then confided, totally opened up, and said, "No, you know what? I know we actually have had a few issues, but she just accepted that as part of the industry or a necessary evil, as if this always happens." And by the time Mike had come back into the room, she was a different person, much more open. And long story short, we ended up getting that order. I still remember that sale. Secondly, there's been times when myself as a salesperson in a situation like this by myself have said something, made a mistake, touched the sacred cow, did something that I knew I was done, right? Now, a typical salesperson is going to try to recover from that by, again, being super polished and trying to win them over with his great presentation or all his industry knowledge or product knowledge or whatever, anything like that. The best thing to do at that point is call it. And so what I did is, in those situations, and it doesn't always recover, but I notice I get a much better recovery rate when I do this, is I say, Fred, I just got to stop. I get the sense that I blew this and that I shouldn't have went here. Whatever the situation was, just acknowledge the elephant in the room and even go for a hard close and say, should I leave now? Is it over? And when you do that, it's surprising. Again, people love to rescue, you know? And so the guard goes down and the crossed arms like this come undone, and they realize you're more genuine, you're a real person, and they open up to you in these situations. Doesn't mean you win everyone. You never win everyone in sales, right? But what I tell salespeople to do is, if possible, and your company has made a mistake, a lost order, or a delay, or something like that, that's not easily explainable. I've had this situation in the past. It was just holes in our company that it fell through the cracks, you know, and this stuff happens. Companies are run by human beings, right? But I didn't want the reputation of my company to suffer. I'd rather fall on the sword and take the blame myself. And so now those of you who are salespeople that are going, oh, I'm not going to let my reputation be tarnished because my company made a mistake or somebody in my organization dropped the ball or something like that. Just hold on a second, okay? Because what studies have proven is that you as a salesperson that has the relationship with the buyer or with the customer that you're dealing with, that you'll be given a lot more lenience when something goes wrong by the buyer than the company will. What I mean by that is that if I take the blame and say, Bob, I screwed up. I didn't turn this order in time, or whatever it is that I can easily point to and say, this was a mistake of mine, the order's going to be a little bit late, or something like that, whatever the situation is. If I can fall on the sword easily like that, people will give me a free pass that they will not give to a company. Because it's our tendency to forgive, to rescue, and so forth for an individual, for a person. It's not for companies. In fact, we'll have a very negative reaction if we're just blaming the company and saying, yeah, this happens sometimes in our organization and so forth. Forget winning that business again next year when it comes up for bid, because they already are thinking negatively about your company or your organization for next year. And so you can stand there and worry about your reputation. I don't care. You know, that I do care. And if I can, I'm going to avoid that. But if push comes to shove, as a salesperson, take the blame whenever possible. It's not always possible. And sometimes you have to point to the facts and things like that. But take the blame when you can, and you'll get granted more forgiveness by your customers than if you blame the company and then try to win that business next year. That's what I really care about, is that business and that repeat business. And if I can get the customer if I can diffuse the situation by putting the blame on myself, it'll go a lot better for me in the future. Anyway, that's what I mean by falling on the sword as a salesperson, and hope you like this, and check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Thanks.